from the study of what it means to be human in the broadest sense that includes the natural and social environments in which human beings are situated. In Piyuto's view, economics has become an isolated body of knowledge, having too little to do with other disciplines or human activities. Buddhist economics, he argues, by contrast, offers a different approach, not as a self-contained science or discipline, but in fact a multidisciplinary approach working in concert with the common goal of social, individual, and environmental well-being. Finally, if I can turn to just a few comments in regard to Thailand's efficiency economy. On December 4th, 1997, Thailand's King Bhumibol Adulyadej made an unusual birthday address to the nation. The contents of the talk include this quote: "Recently, so many projects have been implemented, so many factories have been built, that it was a thought Thailand would become a little tiger and then a big tiger. People were crazy about becoming a tiger. Being a tiger isn't important. The important thing is for us to have a sufficiency economy, and that means enough to support ourselves." For 40 years, Thailand's economy had an average growth rate of 7.6%, one of the fastest in the world. In the early 1990s, a Japanese factory opened in Thailand every 3 days, and around a million people moved from agricultural to urban jobs every year. But Thailand's development was from the outside and from the top down. People were involved in production and pricing systems over which they had little control. Rural debt rose relentlessly, and with it, material vulnerability and mental anxiety. While the king's speech seemed to go against the grain of this kind of development, even before Thailand's 1997 financial crisis and the collapse of the baht, there was rising concern over the destructive, divisive, unsustainable, disempowering byproducts of growth. In parts of the country, this discontent prompted support for a communist insurgency for almost 20 years. Other reactions sought more peaceful and local solutions that advocated rebuilding a sense of community and self-reliance to withstand financial shocks. Drawing on Buddhism with its stress on moderation and spiritual well-being as an antidote to the emphasis on maximizing growth and consumption, building horizontal networks, pooling local wisdom, relying on local initiatives, rice and cattle banks, micro-saving schemes, community forest projects, self-reliant mixed farming, all of this was part of the mix.
There have been two. One is, let's do people have bought these things so far. There have been two real explosions that have propelled the industry forward. The first one really happened in 1977, and it was the spreadsheet. I remember when Dan Filestra, who ran the company that marketed the first spreadsheet, walked into my office at Apple one day and pulled out this disk from his vest pocket and said, I have this incredible new program. I call it a visual calculator, and it became VisiCalc. And that's what really propelled the Apple II to the success it achieved, more than any other single event. And with the invention of Lotus 123, and I think it was 1982, that's what really propelled the IBM PC to the level of success that it achieved. So that was the first explosion, was the spreadsheet. The second major explosion that's driven the desktop industry has been desktop publishing.
Excuse me, we just lost a light.
Let's check the get a break. Chris?
Yeah, control, Michael. Sorry.
When is this going to be broadcast? Next year sometime?
Yeah, fall 91. Co-production with the BBC.
Uh-huh.
And actually, one part is going to be interesting. I'm going to ask you at the end. Is we're going to dramatize the future, what we guess our future is, because we've got a dramatic budget in England. Whatever our guess is, it's going to be wrong. At least we want to give people a vision of where things are heading.
So can I just start off with the second one?
Sure.
Right. The second really big explosion in our industry has been desktop publishing. Happened in 1985 with the Macintosh and the LaserWriter printer. And at that point, people could start to do on their desktops things that only typesetters and printers could do prior to that. And that's been a very big revolution in publishing. And those two explosions have been the only two real major revolutions which have caused a lot of people to buy these things and use them. The third one is starting to happen now. And the third one is, let's do for human-to-human communication what spreadsheets did for financial planning and what desktop publishing did for publishing. Let's revolutionize it using these desktop devices. And we're already starting to see the signs of that. As an example, in an organization, we're starting to see that as business conditions change faster and faster with each year, we cannot change our management hierarchical organization very fast relative to the changing business conditions. We can't have somebody working for a new boss every week. We also can't change our geographic organization very fast. Matter of fact, even slower than the management one. We can't be moving people around the country every week. But we can change an electronic organization like that. And what's starting to happen is, as we start to link these computers together with sophisticated networks and great user interfaces, we're starting to be able to create clusters of people working on a common task in literally in 15 minutes worth of setup. And these 15 people can work together extremely efficiently no matter where they are geographically and no matter who they work for hierarchically. And these organizations can live for as long as they're needed and then vanish. And we're finding we can reorganize our companies electronically very rapidly, and that's the only type of organization that can begin to keep pace with the changing business conditions. And I believe that this collaborative model has existed in higher education for a long time, but we're starting to see it applied into the commercial world as well. And this is going to be the third major revolution that these desktop computers provide, is revolutionizing human-to-human communication and group work. Probably could never own.
In the future, object-oriented software is going to be the only kind of.
Oh, of course it's true. Yeah, the minute I remember it being at Xerox in 1979, because it was one of those sort of apocalyptic moments. Yeah. I remember within 10 minutes of seeing the graphical user interface stuff, just knowing that every computer will work this way someday. I mean, it's so obvious once you saw it. It didn't require tremendous intellectual activity. You just look at it. Of course, every computer is going to work this way. This is so clear. The minute you understand objects, it's exactly the same feeling. All software will be written using object-oriented technology someday. You can argue about how long it's going to take, i.e. when. You can argue about who the winners and losers are going to be. But I don't think a rational person can argue about its inevitability.
Give me your thoughts on the current status and the future of the internet and commercial online services and how they're affecting computer development.
The internet and the World Wide Web, because they've become one thing now, are clearly the most exciting thing going on in computing today. And they're exciting for 3 or 4 reasons. Number one, ultimately computers are turning into communications devices. I mean, ultimately we're spending more and more of the cycles of the computer to not only make it easy to use, but to make it easy to communicate. And the web is the missing piece of the puzzle, which really is going to power that vision much further forward. So it's very exciting in that way. Secondly, it's very exciting because it is going to destroy vast layers of our economy. And it is going to make available a presence in the marketplace for very small companies that is equal to very large companies. Let me give you an example. A small 3-person company in Phoenix, Arizona can have a web server that looks identical, if not better, than IBM's or than the Gaps or than anybody else, any large company. And they can gain access to this electronic distribution channel for free. They don't have to build buildings. They don't have to go sign up 1,000 distributors and have people to call on them, et cetera, et cetera. In essence, direct distribution from the manufacturer to the customer via the internet, via the web, direct contact, direct transactions, and then distribution via UPS or Federal Express, that's going to be cheaper than going through all these middlemen or building hundreds of stores around the country. It is going to radically change the way goods and services are discovered, sold, and delivered, not only in this country, but eventually in the world. And as you know, electrons travel at the speed of light, and so it tends to bring the world much closer together in terms of providers and customers. That's very exciting. The leveling of big and small, the leveling of close, near, and distant. The third reason it's very exciting is because Microsoft doesn't own it, and I don't think they can. I think it's the one thing in the industry that Microsoft probably could never own. And I think one of the things that's essential is that the government continue to fund the internet as a public trust, as a public facility, and remove any of these ridiculous notions of privatizing it